Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Today we are continuing with our Srimad Bhagavatam, second study of second canto, 7th chapter, in verse number 7. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your time and association for all of us today. I'll share my screen. Yes, Maharaj, please take over.
Prabhupada Vijay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kamandahati kritidho nasarosa drishyam rosam dahantam utate nahantya asayam soyam yarantara malam pravisam bibeti kamakatam nu punam asyamanasrayate. Translation: great stalwarts like Lord Shiva can, by their wrathful glances, overcome lust and vanquish him, yet they cannot be free from the overwhelming effects of their own wrath. Such wrath can never enter into the heart of him, the Lord, who is above all this. So how can lust take shelter in his mind? Purport: when Lord Shiva was engaged in severely austere meditation, Cupid, the demigod of lust, threw his arrow of sex desire. Lord Shiva, thus being angry at him, glanced at Cupid in great wrath, and at once the body of Cupid was annihilated. Although Lord Shiva was so powerful, he was unable to get free from the effects of such wrath. But in the behavior of Lord Vishnu, there is no incident of such wrath at any time. On the contrary, Bhrigu Muni tested the tolerance of the Lord by purposely kicking his chest, but instead of being angry at Bhrigu, the Lord begged his pardon, saying that Brigu's leg might have been badly hurt because his chest is so hard. The Lord has the sign of the foot of Bhrigu Pada on as the mark of tolerance. The Lord, therefore, is never affected by any kind of wrath, so how can there be any place for lust, which is less strong than wrath? When lust or desire is not fulfilled, there is the appearance of wrath. But in the absence of wrath, how can there be any place for lust? The Lord is known as Aptakam, or one who can fulfill his desires by himself. He does not require anyone's help to satisfy his desires. The Lord is unlimited, and therefore his desires are also unlimited. All living entities but the Lord are limited in every respect. But then, how then can the limited satisfy the desire of the unlimited? Conclusion is that the absolute personality of Godhead has neither lust nor anger, and even if there is sometimes a show of lust and anger by the absolute, it should be considered an absolute benediction. Om Gyantimirandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Sri Makti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Desatarine Panchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktarindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The Lord Shiva is a demigod, but he's also non-different in one sense of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. When Lord Vishnu wants to perform activities in relationship to the material energy, he becomes Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or Lord Vishnu himself. For these are the three deities that create, maintain, and destroy the material energy. And Shiva is very powerful. Uh, there's so many examples of his power. Here, just simply looking in an angry way at Cupid, who was a demigod, he destroyed Cupid. He burnt him to ashes simply by the fire of his anger emanating from between the eyes. So this is the power of Lord Shiva. He has so many other forms of power. For instance, when his wife Uma was embarrassed because sages were coming through the forest where they were having their private pastimes, she wanted Shiva to do something. So he made a curse that anyone who comes through this forest will turn into a female. So one time, a whole group of soldiers were passing through, and as they reached that area of the forest, they all looked and they all had female bodies. So this is Shiva. I mean, he's very powerful. And he is also has the power to destroy the material energy, but that power is given by Krishna. Can't destroy the material energy, but he can destroy the material arrangement. The energy is non-destructible because in its minute forms it remains. But as it combines into different forms that make up the material energy, it can be altered. And Shiva can actually destroy all of that simply by dancing. He has a particular dance called Tandava. You can see Lord Shiva. He dances in so many different ways. There's a temple in one place called, where is that? It's just south of Pune, Satara. Satara. There's a place called Satara. It's in Maharashtra. There's a grand edifice there. It's a temple. It's actually a compound with many small temples. And in the middle, there's one main temple, was the temple of Lord Shiva. And around the temple, there are dioramas carved in stone. And you can see there's like, I think, more than 100 different carvings of Lord Shiva in different dance poses. And it's, yeah, that's Shiva's name. He's Nataraj. That's one of his names. So he dances. When he dances the Tandava dance, that is the dance of Palaya. Palaya means destruction. He beats on his din-din drum, and he becomes Rudra. He is his angry feature with a sense of destruction. So there are 11 Rudras that all expand from Lord Shiva to have different functions, all for the sake of destruction. And so we see here how Shiva succumbs to anger. You might conjecture that he could have dealt with Cupid in a different way, but because he was in severe meditation, his meditation was disturbed by Cupid, who tried to disturb him anyway. But Shiva is also Dhira. Sometimes it says that when who was it? In order to get Shiva to procreate, they wanted to get a particular personality to come from Shiva, who was a great fighter. That was Kartikeya. And so Uma, I think it was Uma or Parvati, I think it might have been Parvati, They're the same person, but in different manifestations of the consort of Lord Shiva. She went, and Shiva was in meditation, and she started to offer puja to the linga of Lord Shiva while he was in meditation, but he was completely undisturbed by that. And so there was another example that he was completely dhira. He's not disturbed by any kind of sex desire. Even when young girls offer puja to his linga in his personal form, he is not disturbed. That is Shiva. But here you see how being angry, he didn't even consider. He simply emanated his. And then uh, Cupid was destroyed. Cupid is a demigod. He's called Kamadev. There is the original Cupid, which is the son of Lord Krishna, who's called Pradyumna. But then there is a demigod who is an expansion of Pradyumna, who is a demigod. And he creates havoc in the material world. When he shoots his arrow at someone, that arrow creates a lusty desire towards the opposite sex, and then one becomes inclined to act in that way. That's Cupid. He's very powerful. He's a deva. Sometimes people can't understand why they feel strong attraction for the opposite sex, and that is the effects of Cupid. But Cupid is called Madan. That's another name for Cupid. And so Krishna is called Madan Mohan, that he can attract Cupid, who attracts everyone. Cupid is that force that attracts everyone. Man is attracted to woman, woman is attracted to man. That's the feature of how the material world evolves. Based on this attraction, the whole material world works on that principle. If there was no attraction between man and woman, there would be no material world. That's the principle. And so, but Krishna is called Madan Mohan. He's also known as Madan Mohan as a deity, and therefore he can attract Cupid. But there's another person that's even more powerful than Krishna, and that's Srimati Radharani. And she's called Madan Mohan Mohini. And she can attract the attractor of Cupid. He can attract Krishna, who is the attractor of Cupid. No one can attract Krishna like Radharani. Radharani has that power, which is her pure, unalloyed love. It says there's two things you can never understand and never will understand. Nobody could ever understand. All we can do is hear about it. And that is Radharani's love for Krishna and Krishna's transcendental qualities. These two things can never be understood by anyone, even the highest and most elevated spiritual personalities can ever understand Radharani's love or Krishna's qualities. And it's Krishna's qualities that attracts Radharani's love. So these two things are the enigma, or the mystery of spiritual substance, which is the embodiment of Radharani's pure love. Now here, that going back to a more simplified explanation, there's a verse called Jayate Vishayam Pumsam Taiso Sangat Sajayate Sangat Sajayate Kama Kama Kroda Bijayate Kroda Bhavati Samoham Samoham Shriti Ribrahma Shriti Brahmsa Buddhinasa Panashyati. Turn to that verse 262 in Bhagavad Gita. And this is very instructive for devotees to understand this, firstly those who are struggling in this material world. This is sometimes we say this is a brahmachari verse, but it actually applies to anyone who is practicing Krishna consciousness. It's Bhagavad Gita 262 and 263. Okay, go to 62. Verse number 62. Jayatam visayam pumsam sangateshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodha vijayate. So here, now this is the danger. While contemplating the objects of the senses, now sense objects are in front of us at every moment. The objects of hearing, the objects of seeing, the objects of smell, the object of taste, the object of touch. But a person who develops attachment for these sense objects, then what happens? Lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. And then the next verse, 263, continues, and it says, Krodha Bhavati Samoham Samohat Shriti Bri Brahma Shriti Brahma Sa Burina So Burina Sa Pranashyati. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool, which means they fall down from their spiritual position back to within the modes of material energy. So one has to be very careful not to contemplate the objects of the senses in the form of these five external sense objects: taste, touch, smell, sight, and sound. So one has to contemplate spiritual sound, spiritual taste, spiritual touch, spiritual smell, and spiritual, what did I leave out? Sight. Okay, go to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 9th canto. The story of Ambarish Maharaj. Look for the story of Ambarish. Yeah, here it is, number 4. Okay. Okay, go down the page. I'm not sure of the verses. Okay. Okay, go slow. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Keep going till we get to Ambarish Maharaj. Okay. Okay, verses 18 through 20. Bring those up. So here's the example of how to become Krishna consciousness. Go back to the Sanskrit. That's very nice. Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayo Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunar Navarnane Karo Harer Mandirya Manjana Dishu Sritu Chararchuta Satkato Dayam Mukundalingaya Darshane Driso Tabritya Gatra Sparshanga Sangamam Grihanam Chatatpada Saroja Saurabhe Srimat Tulasya Rasanam Tararpite Pado Harer Shatra Padanusarpane Siro Hirshikesha Padabhivadane Kamacha Dishre Natu Kama Kamyaya Yato ta sloka Janasraya Srati. Okay, so here's the answer. Maharaj always engaged his mind in meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, his words in describing the Lord's, his hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord's temple, and here in his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engages the sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasadam. engaged his legs in walking to holy places in the temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service and various engagements related to the Lord. And this is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and to be completely free from all material desires. So we have the example of Maharaj Ambarish. We cannot stop the senses. The senses will act, but they must be directed, as we see here, towards the Lord in various aspects of spiritual practice. Hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, walking, touching, all of these senses have use and they cannot be stopped. If one who tries to restrain the senses is simply a pretender, because without engagement in the senses, the mind will start to contemplate various sense objects. Even those who perform these different types of meditations, they can't meditate because they have no object of meditation. They're just trying to pull their senses away from sense objects. But that's only half, that's 50% of the process. The rest is to engage the senses. Therefore, real meditation is to meditate on the form of the Lord. And then meditation has its success or its real object of meditation. So here, this is very instructive. We hear from the Bhagavad Gita, by contemplating material sense objects, we actually fall down into the material world as in a gradual process. And here we purify our senses by engaging them towards the Lord. So this is, as it says here, and one who does this is completely freed from all material desires. So here, if you want to become free from material desires, and I hope we all want to be, because material desires just lead to unhappiness and frustration, then we can find that process here by following in the footsteps of Ambarish Maharaj, by using the senses in the service of the Lord. The senses are either serpents or servants. Serpents means one who bites and causes death. Servants means one who assists. So the senses can be servants when they're used in the service of the master of the senses, whose name is Rishikesh. Rishikesha, Rishikena, Sevana, Yad, Ultima Book, say Uttama Bhab. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti Uchyate. So using the senses in the service of the Lord is the key to Krishna consciousness, the key for freedom from all anxiety and unhappiness, and the free from being controlled by the material energy. So here's the process, very nicely explained. So we can't stop the senses, and don't try. We can restrain them in certain situations, and then, but the restraint means to redirect, just like sometimes people say, well, sometimes they come and they say, well, you know, these thoughts come into my mind. What should I do when these thoughts come into my mind? I'm chanting Hare Krishna, and all of a sudden there's this material thought that comes from my mind. Well, the obvious answer is to redirect that thought back to the spiritual realm, towards the chanting of the Hare Krishna. And then same with anything else. If you're walking along the street and you see something you shouldn't be looking at, there's some desire pops up in the mind, then all of a sudden you just blank out that thought or that object and focus on Krishna, chant the holy names, remember his transcendental form, which you had seen that morning when you took darshan in the temple or with your home deity. So in that way, always keep your mind connected to Krishna, and that is Krishna consciousness. Okay, so we can open it up for discussion.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. Such a wonderful class about about Lord Shiva, and after that about our lust and control over the senses, or how we are running around our behind our material desires. Yeah. Thank you so much, and for the example of Maharaj Ambarish, that is very important. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now. Please turn on your cameras if possible. Silpesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. But Guru Maharaj, if anger is born of lust, because maybe, we were attracted to something, but what happens when we get angry at somebody? Is that still born of lust, or is that different?
Yeah, that's a frustration of a desire. They say anger is the younger brother of desire, and desire is also called kama, which means lust. And so another name for desire is kama or lust. So material desires are called lust. Any material desire, no matter what form it may take, is formulated or defined in the category of lust. So when it becomes frustrated, someone causes you to become angry, that means they do something that you don't like, or something that will cause you some difficulty. That means you have a particular desire, and that desire is now being thwarted by this person. So you become angry towards that person. And so it's if we have no material desires, then we don't have any anger, because we have spiritual desires. Then spiritual desires are automatically fulfilled on the spiritual platform. Now, sometimes it's mentioned here at the very end of the purport, sometimes the Lord or even a pure devotee will get angry. But that anger is not a cause of lust. It's simply coming from the compassionate nature of the Lord to use a particular way to benedict a situation or a personality. The Lord gets angry also, but he uses it to purify the demons by killing them. He got angry at Kamsa, and Kamsa was finished. So his anger is transcendental. We would see Srila Prabhupada, he could all of a sudden turn on anger in such a, what we say, horrific way, not horrific, but we might say a very strong way. The whole room would shake. Devotees would be, falling to their knees with Prabhupada's anger. But then in the next minute, he could turn it off, and it was like nothing ever happened. There wasn't the slightest bit of trace of any residue of anger as soon as he turned it off. So using anger in the service of the Lord is an art that one can develop as they purify themselves in the process of Krishna consciousness.
So Guru Maharaj, if I think I'm getting angry at somebody because I think it might help them, that I have a good reason to get angry, that's still a subtle material desire that needs to go.
If it's in relationship to Krishna consciousness, no. If you think of helping people, thinking of helping people on a material level, then yes. Because anything material is still motivated by some personal desire. It might be motivated by the mode of goodness, and anger is in the mode of passion, so you use the mode of passion to satisfy something that was thwarted in the mode of goodness. But that's still, yeah, as you said, subtle, but it's there. But on the spiritual platform, there is anger. We call it Krota Bhakta. If someone blasphemes the Lord or is pure devotee, then one should show anger towards that person just to teach that person or to reprimand that person. I mean, how could Arjuna fight? Krishna was trying to be peaceful. And Krishna was trying to get him angry. But that was transcendental because it was Krishna's desire that all of these soldiers on the other side, they're not going home. That was Krishna's desire. And Arjuna was meant to be the instrument to carry out Krishna's desire. But then he refused based on some sentiment, some material sentiment. And Krishna called him a fool and used various types of statements to awaken his fighting propensity, which requires, you can't fight unless you're angry. Right, Sri Devi? You know that one. Well, we have to be transcendental and not be transcendental. We have to act. We can use anger in the spiritual way, but not in a material way. And if we're even controlled by anger, then that means there is still some subtle desire. Devotees can tell you how Prabhupada would use anger for making a point or getting something done or teaching somebody something, but he wasn't affected by that anger. Because you see, when people get angry in the material world, even when it slows down, there's still residue. They're still angry. They're still disturbed. They're still ruffled. But not Prabhupada. It was like it never happened. That's transcendental. But don't use it unless it's absolutely necessary. Sri Devi, okay.
Sorry, Maharaj. I just got distracted. Yeah, Sri Devi Mataji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, on the subject of anger, when we see that things are not going properly, Prabhupada's mood is not being followed, his instructions are not being followed, people are getting harassed, and devotees are becoming more and more unhappy, it is natural for devotees to feel frustrated and then angry. So how should we conduct ourselves in such a situation?
Well, it's not that you become angry, except you become concerned. Anger will block your intelligence, and then you can't act properly. You have to be concerned, and concern means I'm going to do something to rectify the situation. If you become angry, it clouds your mind, and you can't think of. You can think, but you're not necessarily going to think of the best way to deal with the situation. And if you get angry at devotees, that's an offense. You can be, I mean, if the person is offending another devotee, then that anger has justification. But if the devotee is offending you and you get angry, then you're committing the offense.
Not so much me. I'm concerned about how things are going and how people are getting affected. Just a very recent happening. The main arterial road inside Gaurnagar has been blocked completely. And a whole community is affected. No one knows why exactly. And overnight, the children's park got destroyed, the roads got destroyed, and no one can understand what is happening. Though there is some explanation, it doesn't sound plausible or doesn't make sense, because now everyone has to go via main road, small children going to school, parents are getting affected, the whole community is in uproar over this overnight change. Without warning, without discussion, without telling, without consent, it is foisted on the community. And how we are supposed to react to this?
Supposed to deal with it if it's coming from the authority. It has to be dealt with in the proper way. Getting angry is not going to really solve the situation. You should be concerned. You should be maybe unhappy. Maybe there is a little slight touch of anger that this is happening, but it shouldn't be the force by which you deal with the situation. It requires intelligence, it requires some organization, it requires some discussion, requires getting to the root cause of the problem. So when you're dealing with devotees, anger really doesn't fit in there. Because anger just inspires others to become angry and nothing gets solved and offenses are made, that's all.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, this is something I need to work on big time. Thank you for explaining the importance of controlling one's anger and not offending devotees. Thank you so much.
Yeah. There's 6 ways to offend a devotee, and one is becoming angry at a devotee.
Maharaj, so I just want to follow up on this, like when, yeah, as you always say that even though the devotees has faults, we should not look at them, and we should look at our side, like what is that it is bothering in us. Um, but some things like we see in other devotees which we don't like, and many times we tolerate. But what is the line?
Yeah, tolerate.
That's all, Maharaj.
Yeah, tolerate.
Okay.
Unless it's causing a personal disturbance to you, and then you either have to remove yourself from that, or someone's saying something or doing something that's causing, then there should be some discussion, maybe. But generally, devotees don't defend themselves. They just depend on Krishna. But they'll defend other devotees.
Yes, Maharaj.
Like sometimes a person will speak all kinds of nonsense in a very disturbing way. And so many people are present. And so the speaker or the lecturer will have to really destroy that disturbance. And he may use anger to do that because so many other people will be affected in the wrong way. But the thing is, when you use anger in a group, people see the anger and don't see the solution, rather. Oh, he got angry. The example is mentioned here in this purport. When the demigods wanted to find out who out of the 3 deities, Brahma, Shiva, or Vishnu, is the supreme of all of the 3 deities, they sent Bhrigu Muni to make the test. Now, Bhrigu is the son of Brahma. He's the brother of Shiva. So he first went to Brahma, and he tested Brahma. He came in to see his father, but he showed no respect for his father. So Brahma got angry. And he noted it and he left. Then he went to Lord Shiva, and Shiva was so happy to see Brigu, he wanted to come up and embrace him. But Brigu said, "Don't touch me. You're full of crematory ashes and snakes and everything. Don't come near me." Shiva really got angry. He can become explosive. And so he was about to, destroy Brigu right on the spot. But what happened was Parvati stopped him, and she said, "He's her brother. You should not do that." So he cooled down, the benefit of having a good wife. And then he went to, so the first offense was mental, the second offense was verbal. Now he went to Vishnu on Sweta Dweep, and Vishnu was there. And he came, and Vishnu saw Brigu. "Oh, Brigu, so happy to see you." And then he went up to Lord Vishnu and he kicked him in the chest. It's mentioned in the purport we just read. And Vishnu said, "Oh, my dear Brigu, let me massage your foot because my chest is very hard. I'm a Kshatriya, so I have a hard chest." And so then Brigu could understand he is the supreme of all the deities. But Lakshmi didn't like that. She became angry because Vishnu was kicked in the chest, and he didn't say anything to Brigu. He just simply welcomed him. But Lakshmi got angry and she left and she went to the material world. And then Vishnu was out without his Lakshmi, so he incarnated as Srinivas to capture back. And that's the whole story of Tirupati. If you want to know the story of Tirupati, that's the prelude to the story. And then the whole thing of Srinivas, who was Vishnu, again finding Lakshmi and then marrying Lakshmi. He borrows money from Kuvera and he has to pay Kuvera back because Kuvera said, "I'll lend you money, Krishna, but you have to give me interest." So that's why that temple, Tirupati, is the richest temple in India, because people give large donations to help Lord Vishnu pay for the interest. That's the story of Tirupati. But the point was that Vishnu never got angry at Brigu, although he committed the greatest offense. There's offenses in the mind, offenses by words, and then the corporal offense is bodily offense. He committed the corporal offense towards Vishnu, and Vishnu remained completely undisturbed and not even had any negativity towards Brigu. So that proved that Vishnu, out of all of the three deities, was the supreme. Not Brahma, not Shiva. So yeah. So nice example. That's mentioned in the purport.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Okay, got it, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any more questions or comments? Yeah, Silpesh Prabhu.
Guru Maharaj, if we're tolerating anger, like if somebody offends us and we tolerate, does that not mean that we are suppressing anger? Because people say that's not healthy to do.
Well, that can cause some disturbance, but then again, you have to let the anger go. Well, all right. So they said something. Actually, maybe what they said is true. Then you can think about it in that way and see how you can benefit from it.
So we have
That
to.
happens. That happens sometimes when we're preaching. People do something or even say something, and then we think about it and we say, well, yeah, maybe there's some truth in what they say, although we don't like it. And we say, oh, all right, maybe I can use that to overcome this situation that I'm in. So let it go. And there is forgiveness.
Mm.
But then again, a person will think, I don't want to be put in that situation again, so I might have to avoid that person. Or if it's that person's not avoidable, then one has to speak and discuss it in a very gentlemanly way with soft and sweet words, getting to the point of the contention.
That takes courage to do sometimes, Guru Maharaj.
If you have false ego, then it's hard. If you have no false ego, it's easy. You focus on the solution rather than, how you feel or don't feel.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. That's very helpful.
I've seen devotees, for instance, devotees will criticize other devotees, and other devotees will think, actually, what they say is not only true, but there's much more, I have much more faults than you even mentioned. So let me talk to you and tell you all of my faults so you can have a bigger list to work with. I've seen devotees respond in that way.
It needs a lot of courage, Maharaj.
Yeah. And it also helps you to understand that, the case depends on the situation. Sometimes you want to leave, sometimes you want to forgive, and sometimes you want to ameliorate.
Thank you, Maharaj. Amritanam Mataji.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Now, when it comes to relatives, we can get angry at relatives. That's Bhakti Siddhanta says. That's one of the ways you can get angry. If relatives try to stop your Krishna consciousness, you can show your Hiranyakashipu mood. He said there's 3 ways you can use anger. One, when you see you're lazy and Krishna conscious, you can use it towards yourself. Oh, I'm so lazy. I'm just so you get angry at yourself, and that will motivate you to get out of that laziness. And then he says, if relatives are inimical and try to stop you in your Krishna consciousness, you can get angry at them. And then the third one, he says, you can get angry at the demons for causing such disturbances. Okay, now your question.
Guru, did that click in your mind seeing me?
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did, but I had another question though.
Okay.
So, many times it happens that we are right in a situation, but still we have to, looking at the situation, we might have to bow down and, say sorry to somebody just to settle out the situation. So, is that correct to bow down even if you are right?
Doesn't hurt. But it depends what that's going to do to the other person. Whether they're going to make them more in other words, if they're going to become more and more vocal in expressing what they want to express, even though they're wrong. So you can just bow down and then you just leave. It depends. You know, none of these solutions are absolute. They're all relative to the situation. We have certain principles to work with, but the application will depend on the situation. So learn the principles, and so you know how to deal with situations. But a devotee is humble. Devotee is not trying to gain something. So if someone offends a devotee or criticizes or tries to put forth some wrong arguments, sometimes you just tolerate it and move on if it's not important. If they're talking about something essential, something spiritual, then you should not give up your opinion or your understanding just to patronize or satisfy the other person. Because you give them the wrong impression and they have the wrong idea then. You speak. You have to learn how to speak in such a way as not to agitate the situation. Mhm.
Yes, Guru. Thank you. We have to apply the intelligence according to the situation.
Yeah. Prabhupada said this movement is based on intelligence. The knowledge is there, but the intelligence is the force that applies the knowledge according to the situation.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you. I've I also observed that, Guru Maharaj, that principles are there, details are there, but we really need to understand because scriptures are in a generalized format and we really need to understand how to apply it in the situations of life.
Yeah. And Prabhupada answered that question. He said, when they asked, how do you understand? He said, that requires intelligence. He didn't give anything more than that. I mean, no one's going to hand you Krishna consciousness. You have to work for it. Intelligence is the factor that is the connection between the soul and the Supreme Lord. Not the mind, not the senses, not the body, but the intelligence. So if you don't have any intelligence, Prabhupada would say, then get some. Or if you can't even do that, then associate with those who are intelligent, and then they can always use their intelligence in every situation. But that's not always practical. The thing is, you want to avoid conflict. You want to avoid disagreement. You want to avoid arguments, but without compromising principles at the same time.
Yes, Thank you, Brahman. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Gauri Priya Mataji is asking from where to get some intelligence.
Where to get intelligence? From Shastra, from Guru. If you hear people speaking nonsense, instead of trying to defeat their nonsense, just ask them questions based on their nonsense to expose their nonsense. That's the art of defeating another person. The art of defeating another person is not the art of you giving your opinion, they give their opinion, you go back and forth. Is you just listen to their whatever they're saying and question them based on what they are saying. And then when they give you the answer, then you question based on that. And then you can show them through questioning how off they are. That's the art of debate. Because a lot of times people just say things, they don't even have any understanding of the situation, they just speak. But if they do have some understanding, then you question it.
Thank you,
Thank
Maharaj. Yeah.
There's 4 ways to enter into a discussion, like a polemical discussion. There's 4 ways. And the best way is to expose a person's ignorance through the process of questioning them. Oh, my dear mother, or my dear mother-in-law, you're saying this, but don't you understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore those who worship Krishna are the most intelligent. So why don't you worship Krishna? Well, I do worship Krishna. Yeah, but why are you trying to stop me from worshiping Krishna if you worship Krishna? Because anyone who worships Krishna wants everyone to worship Krishna. Okay, Amrita.
Good one. Thank you.
Questioning the what we saw, the protagonist. And the thing is, when you defeat them, they get more angry anyway. So it's a lot of times you just walk away. That's all you can do. Radhavino Dini.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. You spoke about the the importance of intelligence in understanding transcendental knowledge. And sorry, I was a bit confused because lately I've heard in one class that we cannot understand transcendental knowledge by intellect, and I'm not really sure if there is a difference between intelligence and intellect. And also there it was emphasized that the importance of intelligence is that we actually engage the intelligence in spiritual knowledge and by serving mood, and this is how transcendental knowledge comes. And could you speak something about the difference between the two, how we can understand this?
Well, there's transcendental knowledge and then there's philosophy. Philosophy, you must use your intelligence to use and to understand. Transcendental knowledge comes by way of, it descends into the hearts and minds of the devotee through the process of bhakti. And that's called gyan. And then when it's applied, it's called vigyan. But still, it doesn't mean because we can't understand transcendence, we shouldn't apply our knowledge to try to understand. Because trying to understand is a feature of bhakti. We want to understand, but the effort that we use to understand invokes the mercy of the Lord. That means you show your desire, you want to understand. But then again, you can only understand up to a certain point, and then beyond that, it comes by way of mercy.
Thank you. It's more clear now. It's just it's very new for me to make a distinction between philosophy and transcendental knowledge. So philosophy is not spiritual, and that's why we can understand by intentions.
No, I mean, Krishna says, Bodhyantas parasparam katyantas chimam nityam tusyanti cha. The thoughts of my devotees dwell in me, their lives are surrendered unto me. They derive great satisfaction and happiness in conversing about me. So Prabhupada said we should sit down, read these books, and discuss them and try to understand deeper what are the meanings. This is part of Vaishnav culture, Vaishnav development, and it inspires the intelligence to try to understand through the process of discussion. But without the process of discussion, you can try to think about it yourself, and then you can try to reference that knowledge in terms to the examples we have in the Shastras that help us to give a clear understanding of the principles. So there's a way. There's people who study Shastra very deeply, and you do comparative studies also. But ultimately, when it comes to knowing Krishna, that comes by way of Krishna. Philosophy is a light in the direction, but it's not the conclusion of the. It gives you understanding up to a certain point.
So, do I understand properly? Philosophy is theoretical knowledge, or not even that?
No, it's theoretical.
Mhm.
When it's applied, and then it becomes what we call realized knowledge.
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay.
what is the point of all these books that are being written? Why are we reading the books? What's
To
the
learn to love Krishna, or
well, we get an understanding, but Krishna says no one can fully understand me, but at least you can get some understanding. But your understanding is coupled by not only the philosophy, but by the experience you obtain in bhakti.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will listen from the recordings again, this, because I need to I need to contemplate on it.
Let's put it this way: you can drive in a certain direction, and then all of a sudden you reach a river, and you can't go any farther because the river is crossing the road where you want to go. So then you have to change course to get across. So philosophy will take you to a certain level of understanding, and then it's the rest of it is mercy.
That is which helps me through the river, or in this metaphor.
You need that mercy.
Okay, I think I understand now. Thank you. Maybe it's also because with these definitions, especially what it means in English, I'm not so not so familiar with. But yeah, sometimes I start to understand why Srila Prabhupada did so many definitions in his books, because it's not always clear what certain words mean.
I'll give you a practical story where you're familiar with the what is it? Brahma Samhita and the commentaries by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati.
No.
Well, if you get a copy of that book, which is available, he uses very high falutin English. You mean you need a dictionary just to understand what he's saying. So the devotees, after receiving that book, tried to understand it, couldn't. And they said to Prabhupada, can you write a commentary on what your spiritual master is giving us? Prabhupada said, if you want to understand it, you read it over and over and over again. And this is another way of understanding, is repetition of both reading and the knowledge that we receive. How many times have we heard, you're not this body? But have we come to that realization? But if you hear it enough and you're in the right consciousness, then all of a sudden there is a realization that comes, yes, I realize it. I'm not this body. Two things have to be there: hearing it continuously and being receptive to that knowledge when it comes. And that means there's no intellect in action. All of a sudden it comes and it becomes the realization. The intellect can sometimes block realization.
That's tricky. Yeah, but I think I also experienced sometimes when originally the intelligence should be higher than the mind, but sometimes intelligence starts to serve the mind, and that's a problem.
Yeah, then he got two enemies instead of one.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Thank you very much for the detailed explanation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Sridevi Mataji.
Maharaj, you explained that there are 4 levels of a discussion, and you said
4 kinds of discussion, not levels.
Oh, 4 kinds of discussion. So, supposing we have to enter into a dialogue with superior authorities, say management, and we have to discuss some issues, what is the best method for a productive dialogue where something positive happens?
By asking questions and trying to understand what is based on the responses you receive.
Okay.
You ask questions, you get the answers, and you may ask further questions based on what you hear. You're not judging, not giving your opinion, you're just trying to understand.
Okay. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Amrita's back.
Yes, Mother. Please go ahead.
So, Kumar, what just Sridevi Mataji said, I wanted to ask that you mentioned that there are 4 ways to enter into the conversation. So, I think one of it you mentioned. What are the other 3? How do we enter smoothly into a conversation?
Not necessarily. No, this is enter into a debate. This is a debate. You have your opinion, the other person has their opinion, then you discuss. There's the 4 ways. I have it written in one of my books, my notebooks. How to proceed within that debate. The best way, as I described, is let the other person speak their knowledge and ask questions based on that, and then defeat their answers. That's the best way to win an argument. Just poke holes in their philosophy. You don't even have to even present what you believe. This is debate. There's another one called Vitunda. Vitunda we don't recommend. Vitunda means you try to destroy the character of the other person. That's a kind of debate also.
That is strong.
Yeah. But that's used in certain situations when you can't defeat the person, you just try to find fault in his character. These are all debates. Devotees don't enter into debates. Debates is another kind of prajalpa. And so.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. So basically, actually, I wanted to thank you, Maharaj, for the ways you show us on the daily classes, which has really helped us in our ups and downs, especially me. So the importance of associating with devotees and the powerful Maha Mantra that you gave us as a guru, it really helps me, Guru Maharaj. Whenever there's some kind of conflict or something, I always remember that whatever is happening outside, at least my bead bags are with me, so I don't have to engage in anything else. So yeah, thank you for that. And after then, my bead bags, and then you are also there with me. So thank you, Guru Maharaj.
That's the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. And also remember that devotees keep their points, but they don't defend themselves. So, yeah, not getting into argument.
A lot of times it's just a waste of time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Sakshi Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. And Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for today's class. It was really thought-provoking, and especially the Q&A. I'm gonna listen to the lecture again. It's really thought-provoking. And my question is a follow-up on Radha Vinodini Mataji's question, to which you answered that the intelligence sometimes blocks the realizations. So I just wanted to know what makes the intelligence blocks the realization. Can you speak a little more on this?
I think because it has its own understanding of the situation, which in that case is not the correct understanding. This intelligence can serve us when it's aligned with Guru and Shastra. But then if it's not aligned with Guru and Shastra and Sadhu, it can also be an obstacle to them receiving the proper understanding. So we should always check everything with spiritual nomenclature, with Shastra, with Krishna, with Guru. When it comes to ordinary little things, day-to-day things, then you just have to use your practical intelligence. But when it comes to something that is philosophical, not even transcendental, but philosophical, then you have the knowledge given to us by the acharyas. Everything is there, especially in Srila Prabhupada's books. He dealt with a lot of practical things also. He dealt with many practical things, so many, because he knew the Western society was pretty much bereft of how to live, what to speak about how to worship. We didn't even know how to live. Vedic culture is human culture. Western culture is an offshoot of a lifestyle that is simply based on the wrong conception. Therefore, everything about Western society is wrong because it's based on the principle of economic gain and sense gratification. Where Vedic knowledge is based on human qualities, morality, spirituality, aesthetic values. Tene Brahma Hidag. The knowledge of the Vedas is coming from Brahma. And Brahma heard from Krishna himself. Western society is backwards. It's primitive. They have the toilet in the same room as the shower. Shows you how backward it is. That's just one thing. People don't wash their hands after using the toilet. They don't wash their hands before eating. It's basically a barbarian culture. And I'm not just saying that, I'm repeating from others who have said the same thing. We're living in a barbarian society. Outside, people are polished, but inside, they're full of all kinds of material attachments and misconceptions. And a lot of it's not their fault. They've been pushed into that situation by a small group of people who want to control people through economic adventures. I was just reading, I didn't read it, I just read a headline. They're putting billions and billions of dollars into this AI now. Billions. What is that going to do? People, they need robots to tell them what to do because they can't think. And robots are not always right either. And what's the question of right and wrong on the material level? Because as Lord Chaitanya says, what does he say? Bhadra abhadra sakale saman e manda e bhadra e brahma. Some people say this is good, and some people say this is bad. But as far as I'm concerned, it's all bad. So what is he saying? Everything in the material world is useless because it takes you away from Krishna. It's based on speculation. Spiritual knowledge is coming, material knowledge is coming from the Vedas also. How to live in this material world in such a way that you can practice the goal of life. But people live in the material world to position themselves to get economic gain and as much sense gratification as they can from that economic gain. So that's an animal civilization. There's nothing human about it. Simply to work hard, to eat, sleep, mate, and defend your eating, sleeping, and mating. You might say, well, there's art, there's culture. Yes, but what is the art and the culture centered around? Eating, sleeping, and mating. That's all it is. All the entertainment is based on eating, sleeping, and mating. Have you seen today's version of art? They call it modern art. They take an old tire and a piece of board and some tin and then some wood, and they throw it up and they call it art. And they actually believe that's art. It's just some bombastic expression of somebody's mind, that's all. They have museums with this stuff in it. Or art is, some naked person. They call that art. They call it, the body is so beautiful, therefore it should be displayed in its real form. But it's just another lusty desire in the form of some kind of expression, that's all. They call it art. So yeah, when you look at Western culture, there's no culture. It's just eat, sleep, mate, and defend, and work hard to get more of the same. We want our children to grow up and get a nice job so they can eat, sleep, and mate and defend. Same thing. What to speak about God? When God enters into the picture, at least in some of the Western societies, he's there simply to fulfill their desires for eating and sleeping. That's all. People pray to God. It's even in the Vedic culture. It's even in the Indian society now to worship God for some material benefit. That's all. But that's not worship of God. That's a business deal. So human life starts when one engages in service to the Supreme Lord, free from all personal motivation. Serve the Lord as the object of our affection, our love, and ultimately our success in life. Who's doing that? Only a few. So, yeah, when intelligence is geared towards that, then it becomes an enemy. It's the enemy of the soul, because the soul wants Krishna, but the mind and the intelligence wants, material happiness, so-called material happiness.
Thank you, Maharaj. Such a detailed explanation. Thank you so much.
Sakshi, I was speaking to the devotees in Ujjain.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
I asked them to help you about trying to get your visa so you could come to France. Did they contact you?
No, I haven't been contacted by them, but I applied for the visa, Guru Maharaj, but the visa got rejected.
Well,
For
I mentioned to the devotees in Ujjain that they know people in high positions. They may be able to pull some strings and get you a visa. So I spoke to who was it? I spoke to Vyasadeva.
okay.
And so contact Vyasadeva. He probably might have forgotten that I mentioned it to him. I did it about 3 days ago. There's a chance you might be able to get some help from people in positions.
I'll contact Prabhuji again. Thank
Yeah,
you,
no,
Guru Maharaj. Thank
the only problem is it's quite short notice. That's the drawback.
Yeah.
But
I applied. Oh, yes, Guru Maharaj.
yeah, but just give it one more try and see if they can help you.
Okay. Sure, Guru Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we want you to come.
Yes, I really wanted to be in the association of all the God family and of course you, Guru Maharaj, but I don't know. I tried from my side, I collected all the documents, but somehow or other they said, like maybe because my age is less and I'm applying for the first time international travel and I don't have an international travel history. So these could be the reasons they rejected it.
Well, they have to, if you don't have a history of international travel, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I told them. So they said that maybe you can start from, small countries where they don't demand high qualifications.
All right, let's see. We'll contact Vyasadeva, and a person who might be able to help is Kishore, Krishna Kishore. He has a lot of contacts.
I'll contact them, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You can tell them I said you should do it, just in case they are wondering why you're asking. Tell them Maharaj really wants you to come.
Okay, very much.
And I
Thank
do.
you so
And I really would like you to come. I think you'll find it very, what we say, uplifting.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. We got
Yeah.
2 more questions. We'll have to make these really fast because I have a guest that just came.
Yes,
So
Maharaj. Please go ahead, Radha Vinodani Mataji.
Thank you so much. My question is connected to Guru Maharaj. You said that debate is one way of Prajapa. And just some weeks ago, we had a discussion with Sri Devi Mataji about these dry arguments. And I just wanted to ask that because these dry arguments between devotees are many times about spiritual knowledge, about philosophy, and what are the signs how we can notice that, oh, this is a dry argument, I should just quit it.
what do you mean by dry argument? It doesn't really make a difference, right?
Yeah.
It's a useless argument. Yeah, that requires intelligence. You can say, oh, we're just wasting time. Let's talk about something else. That comes by experience.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we can stop there.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful class and nice discussion. Thank you, dear.
Can you tell me the verse for tomorrow?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, I'm about to say. Tomorrow's class is with Bhakti Sangha. But the timing is little different, Maharaj, because of the daylight savings. They start from 7:20 a.m. Eastern time, so which will be 11:20 for UK time.
And so what time? Oh, so it's 11:20. So it's 12:20 my time.
Yes, Maharaj. And for India, I think it is 4:50 or like that, Maharaj. I think
Okay.
I'll check and I'll post in the group. So verse number is 7:15:68. 7th canto, 15th chapter, 68th verse.
Okay. 12:20 my time. That's 40 minutes
Before.
earlier.
Yeah, earlier.
When I was in India, it was 40 minutes later, 50 minutes
Yeah,
later.
because of the daylight savings, they follow the US timing. I think from next time it will change again to the same time, 12:20.
I'll be in the UK starting on Friday.
So I guess you are not available to give class on Friday and Saturday.
Friday's travel. Saturday is a festival at the,
Man,
and I'm not sure about Sunday either. Sunday's a festival at Soho.
okay.
Saturday's a festival at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. Stand by. I'll see how it works.
Yes, ma'am.
I think for Saturday there is not going to be any. I think I can do it on Sunday though.
Okay, Maharaj.
Yeah, Sunday should be all right, not Saturday though. So Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, sure, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for a most enlightening class.
Hare
Hare,
Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. See you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Srimati Mataji.
Srimati,
Yeah.
what time? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shilpesh Prabhu.
Just going to say our clocks change here in the UK as well.
Yeah, on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Thank you so much. And I'll just share the timings again 1 second. If you just hold on. It's 7:20 a.m. Eastern of 12. Not 12. I'll check the timings. I think they mentioned it wrong. So I'll check the timings again and I'll post in the group. Please wait for a few more hours. I'll just confirm with them and I'll do that.
This is Bhakti Sangha group or this is Harris?
Bhakti Sangha Mataji.
Okay. So as of now, we have it 12:20 UK time,
No, 11:20.
11:20 UK time. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Sri
Yes.
Devi Mataji.